It's another Monday where we are meeting, and like it is, I always bring out to you um, questions, or should I say, I answer all of your questions as and when you ask those questions. And today we've got quite a number of questions that I want to answer, specifically to those people that have asked the questions. And I do this every Monday night, and I come out, I give you the answers. And if you disagree, let me know in the comments. But I've been at it for a while now, not answering questions alone, but answering your questions and also doing the business of real estate. I've been in the game. I've won some awards in the past, and I haven't stopped doing real estate. I focus on a couple of strategies, which is normal rentals for tenants and also um, rentals for student accommodation and for big buildings. And I think this is kind of like made me to leave my job back in the days. I used to be a banker back in the days, and I left my cushy job, if you may call it that way, so that I can be able to focus on this business. So I don't just buy properties, but I buy properties and I've made it a business. And within that business, it's now feeding my family and it's sustaining my lifestyle. And I think anyone can do this if you've got the zeal. And but today I want to answer a couple of questions, and I'm hoping that you are enjoying. That's why you're coming back. And don't be fooled with stuff out there. You know, people that do one or two deals, they tell you they can give you coaching, or people that do one or two deals and then they tell you, this is how you do it, and they do not have a track record. So I want to caution you when you're out there and you are catching some stuff, and whether it is online or whoever that might be approaching you or at a conference or things like that, just look for history, man. Look for history. Has this person been doing what they're saying they're doing? Where can I check out what they are doing before you especially part away with your money? Because I'm seeing quite a lot of people coming in, and I'm not hating with people that are coming in, but do not start teaching somebody when you have not done some big stuff or when you haven't been in the game for long, because you may lead them astray. And when you lead them astray, you're going to do us a disservice, meaning that all of us in the industry, and people might assume that this real estate thing is not working. So, without wasting time, I will jump on to the first question, my friends. Welcome back for all of you that have been here before. It is my name is TJ, Taurai Jack, as you can see on the screen. And the first question that I want to answer, it goes out to Cracks 303. He says, or she says, TJ, which is a better business in property, to flip or to buy for rental profits? I get this question quite a lot. And I want to answer this question with a number of scenarios, but bearing in mind that we want to get to the other questions as well within the limited time that we've got. If we go over a little bit, 30 minutes today, forgive me. I want to finish all the questions that you have asked me for this year. So that's why I'm answering a lot of questions in one session. So the first one is that I really do think that both businesses can give you what you're looking for. So there is no better than the other. However, I do want to say to you that depending on your departure point, the one business might be greater or will give you greater yields than the other one. What do I mean by that? I look at my circumstances when I was coming up into business. I had no money of my own. So I was coming up and my own parents had no money. Actually, I didn't have parents, for some of you that know my story. And I got to be raised up with foster parents and things like that. So I didn't have like a big kitty that I had of savings so that I could do my business. And it will make sense just now why I am bringing this up today. So having said that, number one, I have no money. So which means that I can't naturally go and do a flip, because a flip, you're going to need some cash. You might want to go and buy a property, and that property is so dilapidated that the banks will say, hey, we cannot fund you. So you now need to buy that property cash. So that's number one. Not a lot of people will have the cash. I didn't have it. Then the second thing is that you may also want to do some renovations. And when you start to do some renovations, You may budget for 200,000, then bingo, you end up at 400. Do you have that kind of money? Maybe you don't have it. So if you don't have it, I started off with what's very easy. So what's very easy for me was I know that I could get some credit, and within this credit, I could go to the bank, and with that, I can ask for a little bit of some money, 700 million, whatever it is, and I can already start my property rental business. And for that reason, I looked at my departure point. So what's your departure point, Krezex? What's your departure point? If your departure point, I do think it matters quite a lot. If you got a little bit of cash, then no problem. Maybe you need to learn how flipping is done, or maybe you also need to learn how normal renting is done. So I don't think that there is the one that's better than the other. Then the second part is that, what are you looking for? So we looked at the departure point, but what are you looking for? When I was employed and I was looking into the property space, I was looking for something that can sustain my family lifestyle. So flipping, I realized that that's not going to give me that. So for that reason, flipping has not been something that excites me. Would I do it? Yes. If a deal falls on my lap, I'm going to do it. I'm actually looking at 2 flips at the moment with a good friend of mine. But here is the thing. When I reached what I want to call my financial freedom 101, when I could put food on the table at my house, right? And this was now coming from my rental properties, I then could do flips, because flips could give me an X amount of money. But I also realized something. Whoa, hold on. And this is where I think I wouldn't do flips. I'll prefer to do the strategy that I'm going to tell you now. I could find a property that is very good for flipping. However, what I'm going to do, and which is what I generally do, is that for me, flipping is I'm buying something as a wholesaler, I'm adding some value, and I'm going to let it go. Now, the strategy that I'm going to drop on you now is that I'll do the same thing. I'm buying something at a wholesale because of whatever conditions, circumstances. But this time around, I'm going to add value, but I'm not going to flip it. I want to do what is called a refinance or a financing. So I'm going to take on the bank on the same property, and I'm assuming that this is actually a sell. But this time around, I'm actually selling back to myself, right? Which means that I now have this chunk of money that I would have gotten anyways had I sold it, but I am keeping the property for rental. So the result is the same, the effect is the same. The only difference here is that obviously you now have debt on your other side, if you can afford it. So there's pros and cons in all of these things that we're talking about. So you can see, my friend, that there is no clear answer on which one is a better business. It is very much dependable upon you. You know, it's like reaching out to a young man in his 25s and say, which woman is good for you? You know, a nicely rounded one or skinny one. Some guys might not even look at the nicely rounded one because that's not their test. Their test is this one's here, the nice and skinny one. Some will look at the short ones. So we all have preferences, and sometimes your preference can actually drive you to a deal. So whatever that you are in, I urge you to say, first of foremost, look at your departure point. What can you afford? Then number 2, look at where you are wanting to go. And then thirdly, look at your resources. And then fourthly, learn how to do these things. There are schools out there, they will teach you how to do it. So teach how to do property management good. Find some good deals. It's also rewarding. You can build an empire like that. Flipping, you can do that, but you being a wholesaler to me. I don't get excited. I feel like from a time perspective, as someone who's going to own a rental portfolio, at some point I can decide not to work and I still have the income. But if I'm flipping, I can't stop working, because if I stop working, the money stops. But however, this may not be your primary income. So it differs there. I hope I've answered that question there, brother, or whoever you are. Let me know. And if you guys want to add on to any comments, you're most welcome in the comments. Add on what you think, which one of the two is a better business, either flipping or rental. Have you tried both, and have you seen some rewards? And I also want to point out that in our markets, flips don't go that fast. I think it's overrated. I've done a couple of flips myself, and I haven't sold in a quick time. I remember when I was going to school myself, people would say you can sell in a day, you can sell in 2 months. Sure, I've never seen that, but good luck to you if you decide to go that route. Second question, and this question here is from a guy called Sabelo, and this is Sabelo Kwanyana. All right, welcome. And your question goes to, please advise who can evaluate my property. I want to contest the municipal evaluation. Ooh, okay. I feel like it's overvalued, which has a negative impact on the rates. So Sabelo, thanks a lot for this question. I do want to say that your feeling is correct, but it should not be a feeling. It is a fact. So yes, you are very right. The more your property is valued, the higher your property is valued, the more rates and taxes you pay. The more you are going to be making money on the property, the more rates and taxes you are going to be paying. I take it you're not in the game of real estate for business, because if you're a business, this is a good problem to have. The municipality valuing my property in a higher amount, I could take that higher amount and bingo, affect that from an accounting perspective. And my book value has just grown up, right? But this is not the case here. It sounds like this might be your primary home, and you're wanting to keep your expenses very low, which is also another thing that we need to do in business. How do you make sure that your expenses are low? Because if you've got low expenses and you've got a higher income, you are making profit. And that's 101 finance, that's 101 business. Right. So the person who can evaluate this for you is a normal estate agent, especially the one that are qualified to be evaluators. That's person number one. Person number two could also be a property evaluator. So there is people that are qualified to be evaluators, especially when you're buying a house. That's when we normally see these people. The bank will appoint an evaluator, and that evaluator will come out and then see your house, and then they evaluate it, things like that. So I want to stress the fact that a person called an evaluator or a normal estate agent who is qualified to evaluate, normally they would say, we can evaluate for your house for free. So you take that documentation, but you are wanting to do this for the purposes of municipal evaluation. So once you get the evaluation, that's number one. Now you can compare that between the two, right? The evaluation that you got from the municipal and the evaluation that you've got. And then if there's a huge discrepancy, so let's say like what, 200,000, 100,000 or whatever it is, you feel that this is a huge discrepancy. How do you then object? So that's another question that we want to answer, because I don't want to leave you hanging, right? So you found the person, but then what? At the council, or should I say, you should have received an email. I don't know how frequent this happens, but I think I have received my forms via the municipality. They come through via email. They send out an email to say, if you'd like to contest the value of your property, and there's a form. I've forgotten the name of the form, but basically there is a form. But if you've missed that form, which sounds like it, you're also most welcome to approach your municipality, whichever it is, and then you say to them you are wanting to contest. You may be late for that window, it might be closed, it might be not, but it doesn't matter. If you have missed that, they'll still be able to help you. There's a process within the municipality, then they'll tell you what you need to do, and then you can contest that. But brace yourself, it may take a bit of time. And but basically, yes, it has an impact on your rates and taxes. You're very right. And if you have to contest it, I have seen in some cases where they can also reverse some of the taxes that you've got. So you don't get cash in your pocket, but you get a credit, which means that obviously you can utilize it for your rates and taxes. I think I remember in one metro, they said to me, I cannot use it for my utilities, but I can use it for my rates and taxes. So it just depends from municipality to municipality. Thank you for asking that question. By the way, you are most welcome to also ask your own question, and I'll do my uttermost best to answer that question. In today's video, we did say that we are wanting to answer the question, which is a better business in property, either flipping or to buy for rental profits. And I am answering more questions around this. It's not the only questions that I am answering. So thank you for staying tuned in, and don't forget to subscribe. We do want you to subscribe to make sure that you are part of the family. As I go on to my next question, and how do you subscribe? There is a button, a red button that says subscribe. You hit that, and bingo, you are part of the family of the TJ tribe. 101 level. There's different levels of being how to be a tribe member. Okay, good stuff. Happy Place. I like your name. Happy Place QC. Right. It's a cool name. Yeah, high five to you. And your question is, how would I go about searching for these investments? Because everything I am finding is individual apartments within complexes. Ooh, okay. So which basically means that Happy Place is looking for some investment properties, and he is wanting to do some investments, and he's only finding individuals apartments in the complexes. Okay, great. So I do want to caution you, my friends out there, to say that you may find yourselves be on the social media and things like that. I get all of those adverts as well. They come through to my feed, and you get all these companies that say to you, buy a complex, you can buy in a complex and you get 15% return. Buy in a complex like this one and you have guaranteed X amount of money. No levies for 1 year. And I've seen quite a lot. There's so many angles that the developers and guys that are in the complexes, building complexes do. I personally don't invest in complexes because I feel like I am not in control. That's my thing. I feel like I'm not in control because I do think that if I'm to have a tenant, and on my tenant, I always need to go with what the body corporate is going to say. So which basically means that if I'm in a complex and I've got my own unit, if I have to change, I have to go and change the structure of my property. I have to go and ask for the body corporate for permission. I don't like that. I like control. I like to have things in my control. But your question here is very simple. Where do you find these investments? So I've cautioned you about some of these things that are out there. Now, how best do you make sure that whatever that you're seeing is legit? And I'm not saying legit from a being scam perspective. I mean, I know some of those guys that do the bigger complexes and so on. I've seen some of their adverts. I'm not endorsing them from an investment perspective. But what I'm cautioning to you is, if there is a 2-bed, 1-bath, and they're saying to you that from day number 1, you're going to have 20% yield, 30%, whatever it's going to be, calculate it yourself. So don't be lazy. Calculate it yourself. What do I mean by that? Very simple. You are buying the property at 500,000, right? That's the example. On that 500,000, you are going to have a tenant that's paying you 5,000 rand. Okay? Then you are going to have expenses. Your expenses is going to be 6,000 rand. You're going to pay the bank. Who is going to pay for the 1,000? Hold on. Your rates and taxes is 500. So now you're out of pocket 1,500. Then you are also going to pay for 2,000 Rand for levies. This will, in your levies, would include things like insurance, the maintenance of the building, common area, and all of those things. So now you're 2,000 Rand out of pocket plus another 1,000, that's 3,000 plus 500. So now you are out of pocket for 3,500 Rand. And then they say to you, no levies for 1 year, and you are earning 14% guaranteed. Oh, okay. So are you going to own this property for 1 year alone so that you can obviously get the returns? You gotta think, right? You gotta see it between the lines. Okay. Or they may say to you, instead of paying 500,000 from the bank, you pay 200,000. Okay, great. So if you are paying in 200,000, and if your numbers are they flowing, so I want to say there to you guys, if you're watching this for the first time and you're getting confused on the calculations of the numbers, hang tight. You are not the only one. I also used to get confused with this thing until also I started learning how to do that. So I invite you, come and learn. We'll teach you how to do these maths. It's not complicated at all. It's all about income minus expenses. What is the profit? Simple and clear, right? So if your income is higher and your expenses are lower, you are in business. So be careful out there when you're seeing these adverts. Calculate for yourself. So my friends, you are asking the question, I am finding individual apartments within complexes. So where can you find this? I want to urge you to go to school, right? I don't think I can exhaust where you can find them. But the bottom line is that it's very rare to find good deals in a complex, extremely rare. That's why I buy the whole block of flats. If I'm to buy a block of flats, I won't buy units. Then number two is, so where can you find them? Maybe try freestanding homes. They get you a better yield. So for the same 500 Rand, go into a township, buy a biggish house with maybe a cottage and things like that. All of a sudden, on your 500,000, now you're making 10 grand, right? You don't have levies. So now you have what? 6,000, your repayment bond, minus that from your 10 grand, now you're left with 4 grand. Okay? Now you're making 4 grand. Of course, we can add on some other expenses. I'm just giving you a high-level guideline. So think about that and how you can play around it. So happy place. You can find the investments in different places. The first place I am suggesting is shun away from complexes, not unless you're just buying cash and you want to park your money there. I think it's a great place to do that. You got $1 million, buy a complex, buy into a complex, and if rent is 15,000 plus, yeah, it's an average deal. But I wouldn't do that with some of the deals that I'm seeing out there. I can use my 1 million to a better yield. So to answer your question, go to school. That's the first thing. The second one, try freestanding houses. And then the third one is that continue being plugged on here. I did a video at one point where we said, we'll add the video in the links, where we basically says, where can I find property investments? And within this video, you can learn quite a bit in it as well. I've got 3 more questions to go. Hang 10 as I go on. Bami, thank you for joining with us. Bami says, hello, as a foreigner, where can I buy land without yearly property taxes? Oh, the government will always want its money. You can't. There is no way you can buy them. Where can I buy land without yearly property taxes, without building permit, and without zoning? Okay. Maybe some tribal land. What are some places? Who should I contact? Okay, good. If you have to buy any land, you are going to pay rates and taxes. That's a given. It comes in on a monthly basis. Let's not fool ourselves. However, if you are to go into maybe tribal land, the land that is owned by the chief and so on, those ones I am not very familiar with it. But obviously, they do not pay rates and taxes, but they do pay some form of rates and taxes in one way or the other. Because the chief also needs to make sure that the land is being productive, right? So I think that's your only option here, man. I cannot think of any other place. Who can you contact as a foreigner? Make some friends in South Africa. Come to the Tribe Connect, connect with a few people, yeah, maybe they'll lead you somewhere. Yeah, but I think that's my only option that I can think about. If you guys know of any other options, let's help out here. Bunny, Delo, or Laura, and he says he's a foreigner. He'd like to buy some land in South Africa. Okay, good stuff. Let's go on to question next number. You're right. Homotso, how's it going? Welcome. And you asked the question, if you are using the property trust to purchase a property and not yourself. Okay, let's read that question again. Right. TJ is buying a property in a trust. Okay. Whose credit history and affordability is being used by the financer? Oh, okay, cool. I like this question. I was getting confused for a little bit there. Right. I also get confused, ladies and gentlemen. Right, your question here, this is a very important question. Well done, Komoto, for asking us this question. So the question reads again, if you are using the property trust, right. Komoto's got a trust. High five, girl. Why did I think Komoto's a girl? I got a niece who's got Komoto. Maybe that's why I thought of that. Anyway, okay, let's go again. If you are using a property trust to purchase a property and not yourself, so the trust itself is the one that is going to say, hey, I would like to purchase this property. So if you're doing an offer to purchase, on your offer to purchase, the trust's name is there. That's what they're asking here. Whose credit history? So let's dive into the credit history. And affordability is being utilized. Let's talk about the trust as a new trust. You just registered your trust. Your attorney has called you and said, Komoto, your trust is available. All right? There is your deed. And now you've got your letter of authorization and your trust, and that's it. Then what? Now you've seen a deal, a good deal. Step number one is that the financer will look at the trustees. So you got trustees in a trust. So who are trustees? Trustees are the managers in a trust, right? So normally they say good practice, have 3 trustees, 2 could be related, and the third one is unrelated to the 2, and they need to have some fiducial office of sort. This can be a priest, accountant, lawyer, things like that. They have to have a fiducial office of sort. Now that you have these 3 trustees, the third trustee can be excused because he probably doesn't have any benefits to the trust. So the other 2 trustees now, those are the ones whom the financer or the lender is going to look at. So basically now you're saying, I am standing surety for the trust, okay, as a trustee, right? And for that reason, the lender or the financer will then look at your finances and affordability, and if it is there, the property will register in the trust, and then some income will start coming in, and from there onward, bingo. Now you start to have financials in the trust. So does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And for all of you guys who also are starting off your journey, I hope this makes sense. But then let's look at another scenario. Scenario number 2 is that the trust is 3 years old. You got maybe 4 or 5 properties in there, and you're making around about 50 grand in the trust, and you're making around about 10 grand profit. And bingo, you are now wanting to go and buy a property. In that scenario, the financer would look at the finance of the trust because there is financials, right? Hopefully, you've also kept up to date with your finances for the last X years, 3 years in this case. And you have evidence of that. They are signed off with an accountant. Then the bank might say, okay, great. For 10,000 Rand, we can only give you 600,000. And then this property could be worth maybe 2 million. And for that reason, the trustees can come in again and say, actually, you know what? We would also want to stay in surety because I earn 2 million, my other trustees earns 4 million. So together with the finances, so it's a combo, right? So that's called core applications. So the trust and you, now your core applications and your core applicants, and then the financer will consider all 3 of you, bingo, you get your property. The third one is that now your trust is 10 years old. I'm just giving an example. It doesn't have to be 10 years. It might be even 2 years. But the bottom line is that your trust now has so much money in it. How much money? You are making, let's say, 200 grand of gross income, and you are making 50 grand of net profit. Month on month, get a couple of properties, and you're doing well. And for that reason, when you go to the bank and now you're applying for something else, like where you can be, your repayment is 15,000, the financer might be looking at this and they're like, it's a no-brainer. This trust already has X amount of million. It has a solid cash flow coming in, and it's got a strong repayment strategy because they're getting this 10 grand every 50 grand every month, and we're only looking for 15 grand. So they may say yes. And for that reason, the trust itself is the one that is going to be borrowing from the lender. We all want to get there, right? But I also want to say to you, my friends, this position is a great position because it doesn't tie the trustees. And once we get there, it's a very good feeling to have. And this business of yours within the trust can run as a standalone. It takes time for you to get there, but it can happen. It has happened to me and many other people. So I am sure that you can do it too. As the plane lands, I am going to go to my last question. We are 3 minutes over. I apologize for the 3 minutes over, but we need to get to this question. Last question. I've answered all these questions today. How many questions did we answer? About 5, 6 questions today. But you're most welcome to add your comments also below, because remember, today it is Ask Your Question. On a Monday, I come out here and I answer all of your questions. So some of these questions were asked a couple of months ago, but because it is towards the end of the year, I said I need to get to all the questions that have been asked. So I thank you for all of you being part of the tribe. I thank you guys for subscribing to us and tuning in, watching the videos and sharing the videos with other like-minded people. I appreciate it, and I can see that the tribe is growing. We are growing from doing deals. I'm not wanting us to grow and be like millions here. No, that's not my goal. My goal is that I'm giving you the right information. You go out there, you do it. When you do it, you make some money for your family. Because remember, we are all about parents making money, making passive income via property. And that's what we're all about here. That's the dream of this channel. So as I land the plane and go to my last question, thank you for subscribing. This guy here is called Brother Lesedi. Oh, nice. All right. Brother Lesedi, welcome, brother. And Lesedi is asking the question, TJ, I'm a 20-year-old. Woo, right. At 20 years, I wasn't thinking about, well, 20 years ago, we didn't have YouTube. 20 years ago, we didn't have the social media that we've got today. Data was very limited. So, wait, 20 years ago, welcome, Mr. 20-year-old, Brother Lesedi. I want to buy vacant land and property, but I don't know how. Ooh, okay. This question here, 20-year-old. I'm gonna leave it here. I think I'm not going to answer this question. I would like you guys to answer the question to Lesedi. He's a 20-year-old. How can we help him? So he says here he wants to buy a vacant land. Why? I don't know. And the property, but he doesn't know where to start or how to do it. So for some of you who've been here for longer, maybe tell him how to do it in your own views. And maybe we might answer this question more in depth a little bit later. But Brother Lesedi, thanks for joining in. Thanks for watching the videos, because I know you're learning already from here. I think your next step now is maybe get a couple of books, read a couple of books also, so that they can tell you how best to do it. One of my books would be a great one, a great start. But over and above that, a lot of the guys who I know they're going to give you some good advice that have been here. And yeah, we can progress from there. But if you're really serious, I mean, at 20 years, I had so many things that I was considering. Some have come to pass, some didn't. And I want to see whether you are really devoted to the cause of property here. It's a long journey. It's a better rewarding journey than anything else that I've seen out there, because property, people will always need somewhere to stay. People will always need shelter. So we do need this. So ladies and gentlemen, as I land the ship, the plane, please do answer brother here. And don't be stingy on your comments. Be nice. He's a 20-year-old. For some of you, you're in your 40s. So look at yourself when you're 20 years old and answer this question in the comments. It is now time for me to say goodbye. But before I leave, don't forget to watch other videos on the tribe. They are beneficiary. They're there for you. Watch as many as you can so that you can get more educated. If you find something else that is more interesting to you and you think your bae or someone else, your brother or whoever could benefit from it, just forward them a WhatsApp, right? Say, hey, look at what this kid is saying. I'm enjoying watching him. And together we can all learn. And together we can be better parents and we can make life better choices. It is I, TJ. We will check you out on the next video.